Okay, we'll work through the practice test for review. So my suggestion is, after you really probably tried to start working through the test review on your own, and then come here if you have trouble on some of the examples. But if nothing else, after you watch the review video, go work through the practice test to make sure you can do the problems on your own. A lot of you didn't attempt the practice test last time, and that's really not a good idea. It's a really good study tool, so you want to make sure you can work through the practice test. That way you can be confident when you get to the real test. Okay? So number one, let's see here. If you looked at this earlier, you would have seen that it was like 22 questions up here. I had to take several of them out because we're not quite as far along as we are in a normal semester, but we'll just blame it on COVID, and that's okay. So the plan in the future is we have a few more sections we'll do and have a test 3 right at the end of classes that doesn't cover quite as much materials. Test 1 and 2 is covered, but we'll have a test 3, and then we'll have an optional final exam that'll be online. Okay, so you can take the final if you want to replace one of your other test grades with your final exam score. Okay, but it is optional. It's just up to you. Okay, so number one, our function is x cubed plus 3x, and then it just gives us different numbers for us to evaluate our function at. So if we do f of negative 2, be careful, use parentheses where there's an x, especially if you have negative numbers, because sometimes it's easy to make a mistake with the sign. Here, negative 2 cubed would be negative 8. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 8 minus 6 should give us negative 14. Negative 14. Okay. Next we have negative 1. Same thing, but this time we're going to use negative 1. Again, we got another negative number, so it's a good idea to use parentheses so we don't mess the sign up. Here, negative 1 cubed is negative 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, so we negative 4. Now we want f of 0. You can always back that up and pause it if you need to. So f of 0, I'll get 0 cubed. It's 3 times 0. Both of those give us 0. We end up with 0. And f of 1/2, if you know how to do fractions on your calculator, this is a good time. You're not comfortable with fractions, so here we'll have 1/2 cubed plus 3 times 1/2. It's a little bit annoying to do by hand, but we can do it. To cube a fraction, you cube the top and you cube the bottom, so 1 to the third is 1, 2 to the third is 8. Then we'll have 3 over 2. We got to get a common denominator if we're doing this by hand. Again, you can just punch it in your calculator to be okay. So 1/8, multiply top and bottom by 4 on the second one, so 12 over 8. We will get 13 over 8. 13 over 8. So just need to know how to take a function and evaluate it. That's what we call plugging in for x. Substituting in for x. And number 2 gives us a piecewise function. Okay, the big deal here is just to make sure that you know which piece to use. So our first x value, let me zoom in a little bit here. Our first x value is negative 5. So negative 5 is less than negative 1. That tells us we're going to use this piece. So we'll get f of negative 5. We'll do 2 times x, or 2 times negative 5. There we'll get negative 10. You don't have to do anything with the other pieces. You just use the piece that matches your x value. Now we're looking at negative 1. So the first one says we use it if x is less than -1. Okay, we're not less than -1, we're equal to -1. So this says or equal to -1. So that means we're going to use this piece. Okay, so we'll do -1 plus 2, 1. Okay, x plus 2. Right. Next one is we want to use 1. So again, 1, this one says we use this one if our x value is between -1 and 2. So 1 is between -1 and 2, so again we're going to use this middle piece, x plus 2. So we'll have 1, that's our x, plus 2, get 3. Evaluating is not the hard part, we just got to make sure we're picking the right piece. This one says 2. Again, 2 falls on this one because we've got the or equal to bar down here. So we're going to use the middle piece. So for f of 2, get 2 plus 2, 4. And then the last one, f of 5. 5 is greater than 2, so we're going to use this piece. So we'll have, plugging in for x, we'll have 5 minus 2 squared. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so 9 for this last one. Okay, so these are not bad. You just have to make sure you understand how you decide which piece of the piecewise function you use. You do that based off of your x value, and then you figure out which one of these your x value falls in.